She loved how he was emotionless until her mom was in the hospital due to heart surgery, and she wanted him to comfort her, but he physically couldn't cause he was so empty inside. I was selling old books on an app, but I messed up the price and accidentally added a few extra zeros. A second later, a notification popped up. Your item has been sold for 1.8 million. Stunned, I contacted the buyer to ask him to request a refund. Then I realized who he was. Thomas Thorne, the heir to a Manhattan empire. His message back was filled with grief. Do you have anything else of hers? Of Zoe's? I'll pay any price. She was my late wife. While moving, I was cleaning out my bookshelf and found a huge stack of old college textbooks. On the principle of not letting a single penny go to waste, I snapped a photo and listed them on a second-hand app for 180. My boyfriend, Alan, laughed, telling me I was desperate for cash. They've updated the curriculum a dozen times since we graduated. Those are basically just recycling. You'd be lucky to get 18, let alone 180. Who's gonna buy that? My youth is priceless. I shot back. I'm not selling it cheap. Truthfully, I didn't have high hopes. I'd been out of college for 7 years, which meant these books were from a decade ago. He was right. They were probably only good for scrap paper. But then, less than 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a notification. The item had been sold. I was ecstatic. I opened the app, my heart pounding. The next thing I saw made me rub my eyes so hard I thought they'd pop out. Sold for 1.8 million. What the hell? Did I accidentally set the currency to yen or something? I frantically checked my other listings. The dollar sign was right there, mocking me. Then I remembered, when I was typing in the price, my hand had slipped, and I must have hit the zero key a few too many times without noticing. And the buyer, he must not have looked at the price either. A wave of nausea washed over me. I mean, who buys something without even glancing at the price? He couldn't tell the difference between 180 and 1.8 million. And how does someone that clueless still have 1.8 million sitting in their bank account? This was just too much. I clenched my fists, took a couple of deep breaths to calm my racing heart, and opened the chat window. I sent the buyer a polite smiley face. Hi, so sorry. I made a mistake with the price. Could you please request a refund? He replied instantly. A mistake? What do you mean? You think it's too little? Name your price. I stared at the message. Had the world gone insane? Or had the dollar suddenly become worthless? How could I possibly think 1.8 million was too little? Was this guy even speaking English? I clicked on his profile. The avatar was blank, but his username was 3 words that made my heart stop. Thomas Thorne. My pulse immediately went into overdrive. Thomas Thorne, the infamous heir to a Manhattan empire, a man so wealthy and handsome he was practically a national treasure. It wasn't just family money, either. He was brilliant in his own right, having founded a tech company a few years back that went public within a year. At the product launch, he'd stood on stage in a sharp black suit, all long legs and chiseled, icy features, driving the audience wild. People were screaming for him to ditch business and become a movie star. If it was him, then the crazy price suddenly made a twisted kind of sense. Moguls like him operate on a different financial plane. I typed back, my fingers trembling with reverence. Mr. Thorne, I genuinely listed the price incorrectly. Thomas, what was the original price? And do you have anything else that belonged to Zoe? I'll buy everything of hers. You can name whatever price you want. I stared at the screen, reading his words over and over for 3 solid minutes. Zoe is me. I am Zoe. But how did that make sense? How could the Thomas Thorne possibly know me? He was a titan of industry, a prince of New York. I was just a nobody from Boston, grinding away at a 9 to 5. Our worlds couldn't be further apart. When I didn't reply, a voice message came through. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away. I hope I didn't frighten you. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was heavy with a sorrow that felt gut-wrenchingly real. Zoe was my late wife. Anything that was hers, it means everything to me. If you have more of her things, I beg you, please sell them to me. His voice was distinctive, a deep, magnetic baritone with a slight, almost imperceptible East Coast drawl. It was the exact same voice from the news clips. My mind went numb, my heart hammered against my ribs, and my brain felt like it was short-circuiting. My breath hitched, and black spots danced in my vision. Oh my God, what kind of cosmic lottery had I just won? I shared the same name as Thomas Thorne's deceased wife. Thomas Thorne's love life was the stuff of legends. He was constantly surrounded by a flock of beautiful women, A-list actresses, heiresses, social media stars, all fighting for his attention. The one everyone thought he'd marry was his childhood friend, Serafina Vance. She was his equal in every way. From a family just as powerful as his own, their companies were deeply intertwined, and rumors of an impending merger through marriage were always swirling, causing their stock prices to jump. But then, the unexpected happened. The girl next door lost to a complete unknown. Thomas went on a vacation abroad and came back married to a local girl he'd met there. He announced the marriage but refused to name his bride. For months, reporters camped out, trying to get a picture, a name, a shred of background information, but came up with nothing. She was a ghost. Frustrated, they turned to Serafina. In front of the cameras, she first confirmed that all their friends had, in fact, met Mrs. Thorne. Then, with a sly, pitying smile, she posed a question to the reporters. Do you hide something you're proud of? The media went into a frenzy. The narrative was set. Thomas was hiding his wife because she was an ordinary woman, an embarrassment he couldn't possibly show off in his glittering world. But that raised the biggest question of all. Why did he marry her in the first place? It became the mystery of the year. Theories ran wild. Some said she'd saved his life and was blackmailing him. Others claimed it was a honey trap, that she'd gotten pregnant to force his hand. The most popular theory was that just before his trip, he'd had a massive fight with Serafina. She had apparently done something unforgivable, and in a fit of rage and spite, Thomas had married the first woman he met. Everything that followed seemed to confirm this. He clearly despised his new wife. He never brought her to public events, and refused to even mention her name to the press. At his own birthday gala, when asked to name the most important woman in his life, he'd said Serafina's name. Everyone concluded the marriage was a sham, until 3 years ago, when Mrs. Thorne died in a car accident, and Thomas Thorne completely lost his mind. Sorry, due to copyright issues, I am unable to continue updating the next chapter. If you like the book, if you like this book, insert 289694 on Moda Novel to read this book.